When Amazon first announced the Rings of Power, expectations were through the roof. But after the first season left fans bitterly disappointed, we all thought maybe season 2 will fix the mistakes. Right? Spoiler alert, it didn't.
No! God, please, no! No!
In fact, it somehow managed to make everything even worse.
No! No!
Honestly, I had such high hopes for Rings of Power Season 2. After the disaster that was Season 1, I was sure that the streamer had learned a valuable lesson, and I was eager to dive back into the wonderful world of Tolkien. As soon as the first 3 episodes landed on streaming, I jumped right in with my fingers crossed. Was it exactly what people expected, or was it even worse? I'm Olu James, and this is Hit or Miss. Let's break it down. If you thought the plot in Season 1 was convoluted, Season 2 takes it to new dizzying heights of confusion. We jump straight into a poorly executed flashback explaining how Sauron, now Halbrand, was betrayed by his lieutenant and eventually reborn. Already, the show spends 20 minutes telling us things we either already know or don't really care about. From there, the plot spirals into chaos, with multiple storylines that feel more like filler than actual progression. Sauron is now trying to negotiate his way back into power by manipulating characters who seem to have left their intelligence at the door. How does a godlike being command such a lack of presence that he's reduced to convincing orcs in a cave to follow him? It's laughable. Then we have Galadriel. Oh, Galadriel. The girl boss energy is dialed up to 11, but it's done in such a way that it's impossible to connect with her character. She bounces between righteous speeches and nonsensical decisions, leaving viewers wondering why the writers chose to focus so heavily on her, but didn't give her any real depth. As if that wasn't enough, we get a tedious side story with Elrond and the Elven Rings, which are used to save the elf trees because apparently that's important now.
Come on now, dog. Come on, man.
The dwarves are starving in Moria, but can't seem to solve anything without pointless drama between Durin and his father. The writers try to build tension, but instead it comes off as childish bickering. Oh, and let's not forget the baffling decision to bring Isildur back. Why pretend to kill off a major character that we all know can't die yet? It's a cheap trick that's becoming far too common in shows that lack real stakes or creativity. The character development, if you can even call it that, is non-existent. In a series where elves are meant to be wise, experienced beings, we're instead subjected to characters who make mind-bogglingly dumb decisions. Let's start with Sauron. He's supposed to be one of the most terrifying cunning villains in Tolkien's world. Yet here he's portrayed as a bickering, second-rate manipulator. The once powerful Dark Lord now spends his time making empty promises and getting stabbed by orcs who no longer fear him.
Stop it. Get some help.
How did we go from the formidable Sauron of the Lord of the Rings to this? Then Galadriel continues to be the poster child for poorly written female leads. Rather than being a nuanced character with strength and vulnerability, she's a flat caricature. Her arrogance knows no bounds, and her decision-making skills are questionable at best. Instead of growing from her mistakes, she bulldozes her way through the season with the subtlety of a wrecking ball. The side characters don't fare much better. Elrond, who should be one of the most compelling figures, is reduced to a pawn in a weak subplot about the Elven Rings. The dwarves are more annoying than interesting, with their petty arguments and paper-thin motivations. And then we have Adar, a character who should have been menacing, but comes off as entirely forgettable. For a villainous commander of orcs, he lacks any real presence or intimidation factor. If you thought the dialogue in Season 1 was back, Prepare yourself. Season 2 is a masterclass in cringe. The writers desperately try to emulate Tolkien's grand poetic style, but instead were left with clunky, overwrought lines that feel like they were pulled straight from a fan fiction generator. Long-winded speeches full of pompous metaphors and faux philosophical musings are peppered throughout the show, but they land with all the grace of a boulder crashing through a window. Even the most seasoned actors would struggle to make this dialogue work. And well, these actors are not seasoned. At times, I found myself laughing at scenes that were clearly meant to be serious. There's only so much tortured metaphor and forced gravitas one can take before it all becomes parody. As in season 1, the one saving grace of Rings of Power is that it looks expensive. And it should, considering Amazon reportedly spent another insane amount of money on this series. The sets are grand, the CGI is decent, and there are moments where cinematography is genuinely beautiful. But with the beautiful disaster that was season 1, it was only to be expected. Unfortunately, once again, good visuals can only take you so far. When the story is this bad, all the pretty backdrops in the world can't save it. Worse still, there are entire scenes that are so dark and murky that you can barely tell what's happening. A top dollar show and we can't even get decent lighting. Season 1 already struggled to understand the morality of Tolkien's world, but Season 2 completely loses the plot. The show tries to paint orcs as misunderstood victims, even giving us scenes of orc families and soldiers begging not to go to war. I get that modern media loves a good moral gray area, but orcs are not meant to be sympathetic. They are tools of evil, not misunderstood creatures in need of empathy. The show's attempt to inject modern sensibilities into Tolkien's world feels forced and misguided. Instead of staying true to the source material, Rings of Power warps it into something completely unrecognizable. If you were hoping Season 2 of Rings of Power would redeem the series, I have bad news for you. It doesn't. Instead, it doubles down on everything that made Season 1 so frustrating, from the convoluted plot to the poorly written characters and cringe-worthy dialogue. For all the money Amazon poured into this series, they couldn't buy good writing or storytelling. So my final rating for Rings of Power Season 2, based on the first 4 episodes: premise 2 out of 5, storyline 1 out of 5, character development 1.5 out of 5, cinematography and visuals 4 out of 5, and tone and style 1.5 out of 5, for an overall score of 1.5 reels out of 5. Rings of Power Season 2 is already a total miss, a bloated mess of a show that fails to capture the magic, depth, or heart of Tolkien's world. If you value good storytelling, you might want to steer clear of this one. Is Rings of Power Season 2 hitting the mark for you, or are you as disappointed as I am? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more brutally honest reviews. And don't forget to hit that notification bell. I'm off to make some breakfast now.